What's up, traders? Going 2 for 2 today. Almost a really bad day. So make sure you stick around to see TUP. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate that support. We're growing. The channel's growing quite a bit. I'd appreciate it if we can help out that algorithm as much as possible by continuing to like these videos. So DT, we will go over first as that was our first trade. Right out of the off the bell, 39.20. Right at the bell, you can see we made a nice move up through 40. Went up to 41.21. The volume wasn't that great in this one. So I remember taking a little bit smaller size. And even with that smaller size, got a decent entry, 41.01. Went to 41.21, was obviously hoping. I think there was a spread. We just hit the market order, hoping to get filled in the middle there, but we ended up getting filled on the bid. And it ended up coming right down. So we put it out, or was it 40.31? And got filled. So pretty nice trade there. It did go a little bit lower, as you can see, but wasn't expecting it to go all the way right back down to that previous resistance. We always look for about 50% of that move. And yeah, if I had leftovers, obviously we would have been looking to take them off there, but we didn't. So yeah, on to TUP. Now, this was a fun trade. I don't feel like I overplayed it. I feel like I accepted the risk on this one, and we'll try to talk through it. I don't really even feel like I misplayed it in any way. I feel like I managed it well. There was one thing that I think that I did wrong, and I will get to that. But to start this thing off, we'll scroll out. You can see this thing was all the way down here at 790 yesterday. It was on earnings, which could have made me a little bit more cautious. But again, I still don't feel like I really did anything wrong, especially with my first entry here. Looking at this 880 area from pre-market, a nice move up through 950. As the volume was kind of coming in, I actually really like this move if we zoom in. And we started with 100 shares. We got 963, kind of jiggled there a little bit. I do remember it tried to come back down through 950. Ultimately, it did not. And then it shot all the way up to 1020. And we got a pretty good ad here at 1020. The high was 1022. It did come back down to 993. I don't remember exactly what our average was. You can probably do some quick math here. 1020. So what is that? That's 60 cents or 30. So 990. So it was literally at our average, 993. Is what it came down to, and then it bounced. So it didn't take any off at break even, 200 shares at this point, so a 1-1, and we come up and we make a nice move through 1050. Now, what I want to highlight here at this point was that I was doing a very good job of waiting for my ads. I didn't get too caught up in this thing's basically going straight up. I don't want to miss the move down, so I don't want to miss any ads. I waited for my key areas to break. First entry was that 20 cents through 950. Second ad was 20 cents through 1020. The third ad or third entry was 10 to 20 cents up through 1050. So I was waiting for those key areas to get my ads. And then even up here, the reason I added at here at 11 was because I actually missed the 1120 and it came down and then it actually popped back up. And that's when we added these shares up here. So this ended up giving, it was a 1, 1, 2. So it was just two separate orders, but it was a 2. So it was 100, 100, and then 100 and 100, but it was basically a 2. I just wanted, anytime I add that 2, I always do one order first. And then if it decides to kind of continue up a little bit higher, that's when I'll try to get the ad. Or if it wants to start coming back down, I'll add it on the way down. It's kind of my way of just trying to get that little bit better of an average. Or if it wants to just work from there, then I just add it on the way down and I still get it just at a little bit, lesser of a price. So no big deal there. And then up here, we have 400 shares at this point. And so to get the big ad up here, we added, it was 200 at the 1101. And then when it popped up, we hit it for 500 up there. And that really got our average up. Basically at this point, I told myself, we're going to add those 500 and that's the top. So 1161, if it goes back through, that's that. And we're just going to have to cut it. And it would have been a pretty bad loss. It would have been pretty close to a max loss. I didn't do the math, but I think it would have been like I'm pretty sure it would have been around $900, something like that. It would have hurt. I never really looked at P&L. I think I looked over once around this area and it said 7 something. So if we added these shares here and then it went back towards the highs, obviously it's going to add those into that. So I'm assuming it would have been 900 to 1,000. I'm not exactly sure, but obviously that would have been pretty bad. So it ends up starting to work, comes down. We actually put an order out, I think at 77. and it just couldn't give it to us. It wouldn't get through 80. And as you can see, it did right after we took some off. It did end up going down to 75, but we ended up taking most of it off at 82, and I believe our average was at 85. I don't even remember exactly, but I want to say it was at 85, 1085. And so I didn't want to let it do exactly what it did with full size. So we ended up, we had 1100 shares. We took off 900 here. So we had 200. And I was hoping that the 200 shares would work for me and come down towards $10. But for some reason, this is where I had two mistakes here. The first mistake was I had 200 shares left, and I didn't realize that the range on this, if it just wanted to shoot back to high days, wasn't, that outrageous of a move. But I didn't, in my head, realize that 200 shares was $200 because that was a point from 11 to 12. And so it went from 1085 all the way up to 1188, and I was down $200 again. And I'm like, man, I did not calculate that in my head. Had I known that, I probably would have went down a little bit more on the share size as far as my leftovers, trying to let them work, because this obviously could do this, especially the way it was kind of going straight up the way that it was, and it was on earnings. It started to feel like this thing might just want to go higher. So it goes higher. I let it go through the highs. It pretty much happened in one straight shot. I didn't add anything here because I don't want to get stuck in one of those ones where it pops through the highs, comes down, looks like it's going to be a fake break, you add, and then it shoots higher, because then I'm just chopping myself out of some shares, which actually leads me to my second mistake, where I do chop myself out of some shares, because I told myself that we came down here, went 1148, and I end up adding these shares on the way down at 1133, telling myself if we break up through 1150, I'm going to take those shares off. When in reality, I should have been okay with my current average, trying to let it work. And on top of that, just leave my stop at high of day. That way I'm not chopping myself out of shares, because at this point, if I would have just used high of day as my stop when I added these shares, I would have been perfectly fine, right? Because it never got up there. It went to 1185, high of day was 1188. And once I realized this, because I cut those shares that I took off here, and I was going to cut the other half if it went high of day, that what was the point of that, right? All I did was chop myself out. We got in at 33 and we took those off at 74. So we chopped ourselves out of 31 cents on 200 shares. That's $62. So it was like a waste of $62 there, where if I would have just waited for it to come up, try high of day. If it goes high of day, I cut it. If it doesn't, then I can add, because I'm much closer. And on top of that, it's, less money being risked up there. And then I can add on the way back down like I did. So I added some more on the way down, basically at 1150, saying, I was saying that here when I added too, that high of day was my stop. And this was my way of saying, okay, I'm going to add some size because this looks like it's a fake out. And then it couldn't even get back through the highs. We're probably going to reject and maybe give us a pullback towards 11. And so I got some size in there, and we ended up getting the pullback. I ended up taking the whole thing off here, and I just straight up didn't hold anything because of my emotions. So I guess technically this could be a third mistake, but we ended up coming down to 100 shares after this first take profit. And then I end up taking those off here instead of maybe looking to try to scale out some of those. But I looked over, and it was P&L trading 100%, because I looked over and saw that I was green after being almost down $1,000, and then almost again being down 300 or so, probably 350, 400. Because of the added shares and chopping myself out of $62 there, that I was just happy. I was just happy that I was green, and I just took it off. And that's just that's the truth. there's nothing I can say about it. I actually think I played the front side of this well. We hung in there, and we ended up getting it to the point where we took enough off to allow this part to even happen. Could I have taken more off here just to safeguard myself for this? Yes. Did I? No, that was a mistake. Should I have chopped myself out of some shares here? Could I have played this better, risking closer to high of day if it didn't go high of day? Yes, I could have. Did I? No. Could I have held 100 shares and watched this thing go all the way down below $10 and possibly have made quite a bit of money on just 100 remaining shares there with a 1085 average? Yes, I could have. Did I? No. Mistakes happen. Can we still end up green? Can we still learn from it? Yes. And that's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of reviewing these trades on a daily basis, explaining them to you guys so that maybe you can learn from my mistakes and hopefully learning and moving forward and trying to learn from that. Not, and today was emotions. Today was all about emotions on this trade. That's what got the better of me. And I'm glad that I kept my composure on the front side, but back here, I definitely let my emotions get to me. Mainly after this spike, because I did look over at my P&L after this and didn't realize that I was that heavy still in consideration. And it just kind of snowballed from there a little bit, but it worked out. And that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate that support. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Find me in Discord or over on Twitter, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.